Hello, my name is Ariel, and I'm going to be working with Peanut and Jackson for my cat clicker training submission video. I didn't think the clicker training was going to be possible for the two of mine because they very much have their mind of their own. My cats do love food, one more so than the other, but it has built our bond a little bit more and made me feel a little bit more connected to them. I won't say that the clicker training has been a success as far as teaching them and learning new concepts, but I can say that it's quite amusing. They are cats, which means they're too smart for their own good, and mine sometimes. But we do what we can do. Peanut is a gray and black domestic short-haired. She's 7 years old and she is spayed. Jax is a beige sand color, and he's a 6-year-old domestic short-haired who's also neutered. They've grown up together, but they still pick on each other as if they've just met. We're going to be training in the living room where we're able to get away from Bella, who is the beagle that I did my dog submission video with. Because as being a beagle, she's very sense hungry, so any treat that I throw on the floor for the cats, she's right there to pick up. So she'll be away, and then our best area to do this is in the living room. The easiest way for me to explain all the things that we need to cover for the video is to just talk first, and then I'm going to do the physical part of it afterwards. And then for each breakup of each category, I'm just going to say what it is, explain it, and then move on to the next. And then for filming the actual doing, I'm just going to say the name of the category and then do the behavior, try to get them to do the behavior, and then move on to the next one. But it should be pretty easy to follow that way. I'm just not able to do both of them at once. So for starters, we're going to start off with conditioning the clicker. The first step is conditioning the clicker. When I worked on this with the cats, I would start off by just walking around the house, doing laundry, dishes, cooking, whatever, and then every time I would click, I would throw a treat down. At first, they were super afraid of it. The click was loud, it was annoying, they didn't know what it was, they would freak out, run away, hide under the couch, and want nothing to do with it. But once they associated the treats with the click, they were more apt to wanting to figure out what it was, and they were a little bit more interested and not as afraid. They associated it with something positive, which is why the treat would be the primary behavior, because it's something that would motivate the behavior. The secondary reinforcer is the clicker. The clicker is what signals that they did the right behavior. So whenever they did something we wanted them to do, which was, they would hear the clicker, acknowledge it, and then they would click and get a treat. Without the treat, they didn't want the behavior. They didn't want to do the behavior because all they were getting was a click. So it was very important for me to click and then immediately give them the treat. It's like instant gratification. After we conditioned the clicker, we worked on targeting. Targeting is our next goal, and the point of targeting is to select an object that animal responds to positively in order to assist with training new behaviors. I didn't use an actual object, instead I used a laser. So what I would do is point the laser on the floor, and then the cats would go to that red dot. Either they would touch it with their nose or they'd touch it with their paw. Either way, as soon as it was touched, they would get a treat, or they would get a click and then they would get a treat. We did this moving around the house to various places. Places they were even kind of not so sure they wanted to go to. Not for any given reason, just because they didn't really go there. So that's essentially what targeting is. Moving on to free shaping, this is when you click and treat a behavior that a cat offers on their own. My cats love being on top of furniture, so each time they would jump up onto something they were allowed to be on, such as the back of the couches or the dining room chairs, I would click and then give them a treat. This let them know that being on these items was okay. For instance, if they jumped up on the table, that's not okay. So in that respect, they would not get a click or a treat. So because they weren't getting some sort of gratification from being on top of the table, they would get down and go jump up onto something that they know they would get a treat from. Let's see. A behavior that we tried to work on to master is when they are allowed on the table. For example, my cats are usually very good at this behavior because we primarily associate it with dinner time or breakfast time. Instead of using the laser as a target, which would and could help, I tried to keep it simple to what we normally do, and using their food bowls being filled. When they hear the sound of their food bin that their food is in, they immediately start running from wherever they are and come straight into the kitchen. So what we're trying to do is get them to jump on the table instead of coming into the kitchen underneath our feet, so we're tripping over them and things like that. So whenever they hear their bowl being filled by the food, they jump straight on the table. If they don't jump straight on the table and they stay at their feet, they don't get their food. So if they hear their food bowl being filled, they go to the table, they get a click, and then they get their food bowl. If one of them does it, then the other one gets a treat, a click, and a treat, while the other one has to watch and doesn't get anything from it. So they both kind of have to work together and communicate in their little meow ways to get dinner, because they share the same bowl. So every time they heard their food, again, they would jump on the table, get a click, and then wait for their bowl. If they didn't jump on the table, they wouldn't get the click or their bowl, and then once they went to the table, that's when it would happen. The last behavior we worked on continuously is come. Each time I ask them to come, I move around the living room into various places, and it's their job to come to wherever I am. I don't make them come all the way to me, I just have them come towards me or in the same direction that I am in. After they come towards me, I click and then give them a treat, and then we move on to other places. My other cat, Ginger, who's a domestic long-haired orange tabby, she has claimed one of our rooms. So we're going to try, I'm not going to promise it'll work because they know not to come in here, but we're going to try and see if they will come into this room. Ginger's kind of claimed this room. This is her territory, and she's pretty much trained them to stay out. So the goal is to get them in here, and if for each step they take closer, they're going to get a click and a treat. All right?